Hello there, my name's Joe and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to take a look at image size in ComfyUI. We'll have a look and see what sizes will work, what sizes won't work in ComfyUI, and we'll have a quick look at how we can resize images both in external applications and within ComfyUI. And then I think just to finish off, we'll then try to generate an image taken from an image that we've resized. So let's move on. So my workflow has been divided into two groups. The first group, which you can see at the moment, is a very basic image to image set of nodes. I started off by using the load default, and I've then added a load image and VAE encode nodes. Now, when I connect the latent from the VAE encode to the latent image on the case sampler, that then disconnects the empty latent image node. So I no longer need that, but I'm going to leave it on the workflow in case I want to go back and use text to image, then I can just reconnect that. So with this little setup here, I can just flick between image to image or text to image. So it's quite handy for me. Taking a closer look at what we have here in this workflow. Under load checkpoint, I'm using Dreamshaper XL. It's one of my favorite models. It's a XL, so it's based on, the model's based on, trained on 1024. The prompt, I put in a very basic prompt just to change the t-shirt of the donor image, which we can see in the bottom left corner there. I'm going to change that shirt to a polo shirt, change the color of it or something if this works. But that's really, we're talking about image size today, but we'll try and generate something towards the end as well. Moving on to the case sampler, just quickly run through the settings I'm using. So I'm using a fixed seed of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm using 8 steps and a CFG of 2, which is recommended for the Dreamshaper XL model. I'm using DPM++, SDE sampler, Keras scheduler, and I'm going to start off with a denoise of 0 just to see if this thing works. I'm just going to try and make it copy the donor image. So let's move on. So let's take a closer look at the image that I'm going to use. So what I'd like to do, first of all, is demonstrate a couple of ways of finding out what the size of this image is. And from there, we may be able to see whether or not we expect it to work in ComfyUI or not. So one way, if we, whilst it's in ComfyUI, we can right click on it, open up image, we get the image, and we can see on the tab, it's actually given us the size. So it's 3712 by 5568 pixels. So that's one way, very easy way. The second way is we could look at the details of the actual file in Windows Explorer. So if we go to, if I could just find the file now, let's come to Pictures, Demo, Original. This is the picture I'm actually using, which I've just pulled down. It's an old portrait of mine, a couple of years old, I think. So let's go to Properties of this image in Windows Explorer. And if we go to the Details tab, we can see here, we can see that the pixel size, and we've also got some extra details that we can see here. We've also got overall file size as well. So there's a second way of finding out the file size. Now, let's just close that and come away from that for a moment. So we know my original image here is 3712 by 5568. So would that work if I try to generate an image now? Well, in theory, I think it should do. As I mentioned a moment ago, I think the XL models, Stable Diffusion models, are based on or trained on images that are 1024 by 1024, so a ratio of 1:1, and should also then work on multiples of that or numbers that are divisible by 8. So my image of 3712 by 5568 is divisible by 8, both in height and width. So in theory, that should work. However, it may not. And one of the reasons it may not is because that's a fairly large image. It may not work, not because ComfyUI, but because the resources on my computer may not be strong enough. I may not have enough GPU, CPU, memory, or whatever for that to function. Particularly at the moment, I'm recording this using OBS, which is also hungry for GPU, CPU, whatever. So we'll give this a go. So in theory, I think this image could work, but I would not be surprised if it fails for other reasons. But anyway, let's give it a go. So for this first run, I've set the denoise to 0, and that means that the ComfyUI has no scope to make any adjustments to this image. The best it can do is just give me an exact copy of this image. It won't pay any attention to the prompt. So this will either work or it won't. So let's cue prompt and see whether or not we get an image. So as expected, because I've tried this a couple of times previously, it did not work. Now, as I've already said, the dimensions of my donor image are divisible by 8, so I was kind of hoping it should in theory. So I could be wrong. I think this hasn't worked for me purely because of the amount of resources it's taking on my computer to run it. So what I can do is try and reduce the size of the image and see if that works. So let me just move this. Let me get rid of this error message first. And I don't know if you noticed, but when I did try to execute this image, it did go through the load checkpoint. It was doing fine. It looked at my prompts. That was fine. It came across, it looked at the image, and then it failed when it hit the VAE encode. So that's where it died a death. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change this donor image for a smaller version. So let's look at a couple of ways that we can resize an image. So of course, one way we can resize any image, any photograph, is using our favorite photo editing application. Now I'm using Luminar Neo, but Photoshop, whatever you use, they'll all do the same thing, but in a slightly different way. So for me to resize an image in Luminar Neo, all I'm going to do, I'm going to do an export. And when I do an export, I'll get the option to resize my image. So we'll do that in just a second. And I'll just mention, by the way, these 4 images that you see here, these were all image to image based on a donor picture of me. Make what you will of that. Anyway, that was using Automatic 1111, not ComfyUI, by the way. Okay, but anyway, back to this image. So I'm going to right click. We're in the catalog view of Luminar Neo, if that's of any interest to you. I'm going to right click and go to export. Now got some options here. I can change the file type, etc., etc. I'm going to leave it as PNG, but I'm now going to change the file size. And so for me to do that, I have to come to the resize option, come down to dimensions, and now I can resize one side. For it to keep constraints, you can only change the one size, whether it be the height or the width. Now, some applications will give you a little checkbox where you can break the constraints and choose whatever size, but then that's not really going to work for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for change the 5568 to 1152. So I'm making it smaller. And you'll see there the other size moved because it's being constrained. Now, when you talk in terms of file size of images, it's usually always width by height. So we can see here that we've got a width of 768 and a height of 1152. And both those numbers are divisible by 8. So in theory, this should work. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change the file name slightly just to reflect the file size so I know what I'm looking at later. 768 times 1152. There we go. And I think that's about it. So I'm now just going to export that file. Give that a moment. That's done. So let's now go back to our workflow. Now, before I change the donor image in this workflow to the image that the smaller image that we've just resized, let me show you an alternative way of resizing an image, but within ComfyUI. So we're going to look at this second group that I've got just slightly out of picture now. So in this very basic 3-node setup, we can change an image size. So all we need is a load image, a save image, but we also need this node called Image Simple Resize, which is part of the Chibi node suite. So we would need to load that if you want to use this. So to load that, all we need to do, go to Manager, install custom nodes. And what I would do, just type in Chibi, if I can remember how to spell it. Chibi, press return, and we have here the ComfyUI Chibi nodes. And if you install that and then do a restart, then you can download that node. If you want to have a quick look at any notes about those nodes, then just click on the link that's here, and we can see that the author of these nodes was Chibi Ace. So there you go. Let's get rid of that. Close out of that. Close, and we're ready to go. Now, I did forget when I generated the previous group above, I forgot to disable this one. So this is already generated one, so we can see there's a result here. Kind of spoils the magic, but never mind. So, but anyway, the way this works is very, very basic. This is the exact same original image that we were looking at before. So the 1152 by, the 3712 by 5568. We've now added this extra image simple resize node, and I'm going to resize this image, which was quite large, down to 1024 and generate an image. I've got also over here, I just added in a few sample sizes that do work well in both Stable Diffusion 1.5 and Stable Diffusion XL. Now these I just copied from a web document I found the other day, which is this one here. These are just some that you can use. It's not a definitive list, and I will put a link to this in my comments if you're interested in that. Anyway, so with this, I've now disabled the first group. To run this, just Q prompt, and we won't see any difference now because I have previously run it and nothing has changed. However, what we can do is if I right click on this, so we were changing it from 5568, 3712 to 1024 on its largest edge, which is the height. If I open this up now, hopefully we're going to see it's 1024. And if we come up to the top, it is 1024 by 683. So that is a nice, easy way of resizing images within ComfyUI. So we're back at our first group. I've re-enabled it. What I'm going to do now is load the file that we adjusted the size in Luminar Neo, which I think is the 5.2. Where are we? 5.2, 15, 11.5.2, does that sound right? Yep, that one there. So I'm going to select that. Just to be double sure, if I open that image, we can see it's 11.5.2 by 768 now. So it's a smaller size than the one that failed. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and generate 3 images just to finish off very quickly. This is really, we talked about the resizing bit, that's what this was really about. But let's just see if we can get an image out of this. I've set the noise to 0, so all I want to do is just duplicate this image if I can, and let's give that a go. So let's cue prompt for the first time. So we've got our image, it has worked. Let me just open this one up in Internet Explorer, or rather in a web browser. I'm using Chrome, and we can see that we've got the 768 by 1152. So it's exactly as expected. It's taken the latent from the donor image. So first bit's gone fine. So let's just, to finish off now, let's just try and make some very basic changes to this image to image setup. And all I wanted to do was change from a white t-shirt to a green polo shirt. I've put a description in basically matching me, so it'll hopefully try and do the same thing. And so my prompt was a photorealistic image of a man in his 60s with shaven head. He's not bald, wearing glasses, white beard, wearing a green polo shirt. So really, it's the shirt that we're trying to change really for this. What I'm going to do, so I've left it on a fixed seed. Doesn't really matter. I could have incremented that. It's not really important. We're just playing around with this. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to increase the denoise just to halfway to 0.5, and let's just see what we get from that. So let's try and cue prompt. So we've got our first attempt. So we've got the composition, which is fine, which is what I was hoping for. So we've got this geezer, probably in his 60s. He's got a shaven head. He's not bald. He's got a white beard. They've added a bit of a tash, which I don't have in the original image. But in terms of a green polo shirt, we're not seeing anything there. A slight, maybe the text on the logo on the shirt is starting to go green, but it's a start point, but it isn't really where we want it to be. So I'll give it one more go. So and got a couple of things I could do. I can increase the denoise. If the picture had been closer but not quite what I wanted, I could have tried just bumping the seed number, incrementing that, or randomizing that, and we would get a few extra options there. I'll just going to give this one last go, and I'm going to go for, I don't know, something in the 0.7 something. Let's go 7.3 to finish off. We'll finish off on this. I'm really fussed about this side of it, but it'd be nice if we got something resembling, matching, very basic prompt there. So all I've changed is I've increased the denoise from 0.5 to 0.73. So let's do a cue prompt for the last time and see what we get. Yeah, so there we got our final image. We got our green polo shirt. The composition has remained the same. So considering this is the most basic of workflows, I'm pretty pleased with the result with that. And one thing I forgot to highlight, really, when we got the error message when I tried to run this via the first group, so it's going through the VAE encode and the case line build, etc., that failed. But when we tried it, doing it through just using these 3 nodes, that was still the large file, and that worked. So I'm guessing, don't know for sure, but that was just a resource image on my computer. So it was far less work to do using the second group below. There's this little resize thing down the bottom here. That was much easier. So my computer bombs out when I try to do it this way. So this in many ways is a nice, quick, easy way of doing image resize. Anyway, not 100% sure on that, but at least I showed you what did happen. So I think that's as much as I can say on this subject. So I will just say thank you very much for your time. Do appreciate that. So hope you have a good day and goodbye.